How many of your decisions are truly yours, and how many are reactions to people who know exactly which buttons to press? If someone can make you angry, rush you, or force you to explain yourself, then you are not the one controlling the game. And in the next few minutes, you will learn the 7 Machiavellian strategies through which people become untouchable. They didn't take your power in a single strike. They took it through reflex, through your urgency to respond, through your urgency to explain, through your urgency to prove that you are right. And if they can make you react, they can guide you. Today, I'm not teaching you how to win arguments. I'm teaching you how to stop entering them altogether. I'm not asking you to believe me. I'm showing you the mechanism. Power in everyday life is not about who speaks the loudest. It's about who controls access. Whoever has access to your time controls your day. Whoever has access to your emotions controls your decisions. Whoever can push you into a defensive position controls your reputation. Machiavelli stated this without softening it. The world sees appearances and rarely reaches essence. Men judge generally more by the eye than by the hand. Everyone sees what you appear to be. Few truly know what you are. This is not cynicism. It is a map. And once you have a map, you stop moving blindly. When you react quickly, people interpret it as a crack. When you over-justify yourself, people interpret it as need. When you rush to repair every tension immediately, people interpret it as fear. Your intention does not matter. The signal you transmit does. Today, I give you 7 tricks. They are rules of self-mastery inspired by Machiavellian dynamics of power. They are not about destroying others. They are about becoming difficult to capture, difficult to pull, difficult to manipulate. Before we go deeper, you need to understand something. Most people are not evil. They are conditioned to search for the easiest path toward attention. Some ask politely, others take it. The difference is not moral, it is technical. And if their technique works on you, they will keep using it, always. Look at the online world. An angry comment is not an opinion, it is bait. Let's see if they react. If you react, you confirm you are reachable. If you engage in back and forth exchanges, you confirm availability for spectacle. And online, spectacle is currency. But this doesn't exist only online. It happens at work, inside families, among friends. Someone makes a joke, then watches your reaction carefully. If your expression changes, they gain a centimeter. Next time, they push further. Someone asks a loaded question and lets you struggle through explanations. If you struggle, they gain a meter. In the game of power, distance is gained centimeter by centimeter. That's why I'm not asking you to become distant. I'm asking you to become selective. Selectivity is not coldness. It is psychological hygiene. You do not allow muddy boots inside your own mind. And there's something else people constantly repeat. If you stay silent, you lose. But loss is not silence. Loss is losing your center. When you remain silent and stable, you lose nothing. When you speak just to defend yourself while becoming emotionally agitated, you have already lost. The first trick restores your currency. The second trick turns silence into a weapon. The third trick cuts the habit of justification. Then pressure rises, rhythm, stage, access, and a new order. That is how a person is built. One that can no longer be used by others. First trick, close the valve of attention. Your attention is currency. Until now, you've been spending it like loose change. On small provocations, on comments, on pointless debates, on people who appear only to consume your energy. And when someone receives attention through pressure, they learn that pressure works. Take inventory. Who enters your life carrying emotional emergencies? Who contacts you only to unload? Who drags you into endless clarifications? Who feeds on the moments when you lose your calm? These people are not accidents. They are consequences of your availability. The cold rule is simple. You do not respond automatically, not because you are playing games, but because you are protecting a rare resource. Before reacting, ask yourself one question. What do I gain by responding? If the answer is simply continuing drama, then you gain nothing, and you invest nothing. When you begin closing the valve, something interesting happens. Some people suddenly become polite, others suddenly become aggressive. Both reactions are information. Politeness signals respect. Aggression signals dependence on access. Second trick, the silence that shifts the center of gravity. People fear silence because they believe it makes them appear weak. They believe that if they don't respond, if they don't defend themselves, if they don't have the final word, then somehow they have lost. But the truth is the opposite. Silence is one of the most aggressive moves available to you. When someone attacks you with words and you answer with more words, you enter their game. You accept their rules. You validate their invitation. You give them exactly what they wanted, your reaction. And now both of you are trapped in an exchange that benefits no one. But when you respond with silence, everything changes. The game stops. Power shifts. Suddenly, they are left standing alone, speaking into nothing. Machiavelli observed repeatedly how men destroyed themselves by speaking too much, explaining too much, reacting too much. And he noticed that those who rose to power were the ones who understood when to speak and when to remain silent. Silence communicates something words never can: complete indifference. It says, "You are not worth my energy. You are not worth my response. You do not register as a threat." And that unsettles people more deeply than any insult ever could, because when you respond, you validate. You confirm that what they said mattered enough to affect you. But when you say nothing, you remove validation entirely. They are left inside uncertainty. Did you see the message? Did it bother you? Do you even care? They don't know. And uncertainty becomes psychological pressure. People replay conversations repeatedly in their minds. They analyze tone, timing, intent, all because silence denied closure. That is psychological warfare without confrontation. Another truth most people fail to understand: every word you speak gives information. Every explanation reveals vulnerability. Every defense exposes emotional triggers, but silence gives nothing. Nothing to twist, nothing to weaponize, nothing to attack. You become unreadable. And unreadable people are difficult to manipulate. This does not mean you never speak. It means speech becomes intentional, rare, precise, strategic, and when you finally do speak, people listen. Because your words carry weight. Silence is not weakness. Silence is control. Silence is power. And silence rarely misses its target. Third trick: never explain without jurisdiction. This is where most people fail. You were taught that explaining yourself is maturity, that clarity solves conflict, that communication fixes tension. But within power dynamics, explanation given on demand often becomes submission. Those who aggressively demand explanations rarely seek understanding. They seek authority. They want you positioned as the accused. Notice the pattern. After you explain, they ask another question, then another. They search inconsistencies. They reinterpret statements. They challenge motives. You believe you are clarifying. In reality, you are defending yourself inside a courtroom you never agreed to enter. This is not conversation, it is interrogation. And you do not enter trials without jurisdiction. Instead, you deliver final statements. I made my decision. I'm not discussing this further. This conversation ends here. Then silence. No speeches, no emotional closure, no attempts to make everyone comfortable. At first, this feels uncomfortable because for years you reduced tension through explanation. You repaired discomfort through talking. Now you learn something harder, to tolerate discomfort without purchasing approval. That empty feeling you experience afterward, that is withdrawal from validation. And it is necessary. Up to this point, you have built foundation. But foundation alone does not create dominance. Foundation only stops loss. And now comes the dangerous phase. The moment you stop reacting, people do not stop. They escalate. They push harder. They become subtler. They attempt emotional leverage. They try to pull you back into your predictable version. If you don't understand this stage, you will abandon discipline exactly here. If you have practiced silence even once, you felt the urge to return with one more sentence, just so it's clear. Remember this, the need for closure is the leash. Those who abandon the need for the final word become impossible to control. Fourth trick, the throne of rhythm. In reality, control rarely comes from arguments. It comes from tempo. Whoever forces speed controls outcome. If someone makes you respond quickly, you become reactive. If someone catches you exhausted, you concede. If someone fills your day with artificial urgency, they redirect your life. Rhythm is the throne. Whoever owns rhythm leads interaction. So you slow down intentionally. You do not respond instantly. You do not apologize for delayed replies. You do not enter urgency simply because another person feels anxious. When pressured messages arrive, you do not rush to calm them. When voices rise, you lower tempo. When someone demands an immediate answer, you choose delay or refusal, not as manipulation, as sovereignty. Healthy individuals adapt. Those seeking control become frustrated. And this reveals an uncomfortable truth. Their frustration was never about communication. It was about losing influence. Up to this moment, most people believe they understand self-control, but nearly everyone stops here. And that is why they never become untouchable. Because not reacting is only phase one. What follows is the moment when others begin to feel change in you, even when you say nothing. And here, the social balance reverses completely. If you're beginning to see things differently by now, you've probably noticed how rarely self-control is discussed in this way. So if you want more content that doesn't teach you how to react, but how to control the game without entering it, you can subscribe. Now let's continue, because the next strategy separates self-control from real power. Fifth trick, set the stage, not the process. When rumors appear, when insinuations spread, when indirect attacks begin, your old instinct is defense, to explain, to clarify, to correct the narrative. But every defense places you in the position of the accused, and they become the judges. Machiavelli understood that perception governs reality, people react not to truth itself, but to what remains visible. If you enter verbal conflict, what becomes visible is agitation. If you over-justify yourself, what becomes visible is need. If you spend energy fighting social noise, what becomes visible is vulnerability. So you do not defend yourself through arguments. You defend yourself through stage control, calm presence, consistency, results, selective visibility. You continue your work, you maintain rhythm, you remain aligned, and you allow attacks to starve. This is the part most people cannot tolerate, not controlling the narrative immediately. But narratives are shaped through patterns, not explanations. Over time, people forget arguments, they remember stability. Sixth trick, your court becomes your verdict. Machiavelli noted that a ruler can be judged by those surrounding him. In your life, environment becomes signal. Who has access to you communicates your standards to the world. If you tolerate constant critics, energy drainers, people who keep you defensive, others learn what behavior is acceptable around you. And similar personalities appear. Because lack of boundaries is detectable. You do not perform dramatic exits. You do not announce decisions. You simply manage doors. Who receives responses? Who receives time? Who receives presence? Who receives vulnerability? And when someone demands access through pressure, you offer absence. No anger, no speeches, no revenge, only removal. This is mature detachment. You do not remove people to punish them. You remove access to protect stability. Seventh trick, install a new order and endure resistance. Machiavelli wrote, "There is nothing more difficult to carry out, nor more doubtful of success, than to introduce a new order of things." Why? Because those who benefited from the old order resist change, and those who benefit from the new one hesitate until results appear. Exactly this happens when you stop reacting and stop explaining. The old order was simple. They pressed, you reacted. They demanded, you justified. They provoked, you engaged. The new order becomes, they press, you choose. They demand, you filter. They provoke, you refuse. And during the first weeks, you will be tested. Old buttons will be pressed again. Pressure will increase. Guilt will appear. Attempts will be made to return you to predictability. This moment decides everything. If you return, the change was performance. If you remain consistent, reality recalibrates around you. Now we move from theory to execution, because self-mastery is not visible during calm moments. It appears under pressure, when tired, when provoked, when misunderstood. 3 scenarios, 3 protocols, no poetry. Scenario 1, direct provocation. Someone mocks you, challenges you, attempts emotional activation. The issue is not correctness. The issue is control. If they move you emotionally, they win. Protocol. Pause briefly, 2 or 3 seconds. Decide whether engagement serves you. Close interaction with silence or a final sentence. Exit the exchange. Exit is power. Machiavelli described the effective leader as both lion and fox. Lion when force is necessary. Fox when traps must be avoided. Here, you are the fox. You refuse battles designed only to dirty you. Scenario 2, demanded explanations. Why did you do that? Why didn't you tell me? Why are you acting like this? When questions carry entitlement, you are entering trial. Protocol. Statement. I decided. Boundary. I'm not discussing this further. Silence. Exit, no justification, because courts built by others never deliver fair outcomes. Every explanation consumes power, and power is your resource. Scenario 3, indirect attacks. Gossip, insinuations, competitive imitation, ego wants correction, but reputation defended emotionally becomes fragile. Protocol, no public reaction, strengthen behavioral pattern, calm, rhythm, results, reduce access to the source, continue building. This is calculated inaction, victory without confrontation. While others burn energy and drama, you invest in direction, and here is the truth rarely spoken. During this transition, you will lose people, not good people. People sustained by access to your reactions. Their disappearance confirms growth. Because becoming someone new requires surviving the period where others no longer recognize you. People dislike losing predictable versions of you. That discomfort is proof of change. Machiavelli concluded, "A prince who wishes to maintain himself must learn how not to be good." In modern life, this means learning not to be endlessly available. Constant availability is not kindness, it is absence of boundaries. Now refine the protocols further. Silence protocol. Do not respond within the first 10 seconds of provocation. Breathe once. Remind yourself, I do not buy the bait. If responding, use a final sentence, never extended dialogue. No explanation protocol. Identify whether respect exists. If not, disengage. Answer briefly, I decided. If pressure continues, conversation closed. Access reduction protocol. Do not argue. Argument invites negotiation. Reduce frequency of interaction. Limit availability. If aggression continues, close the channel completely. No announcement required. After applying these rules, do not look back seeking validation. It is not your responsibility to be understood. Machiavelli would call this regime stability. A rule exists only when consistently enforced. Remember one crucial distinction. Indifference is not absence of emotion. It is authority over emotion. You still feel. You simply revoke voting rights over your emotions from others. The final sign you have crossed the threshold is simple. Someone attempts to provoke you, and you feel no need to prove anything. At that moment, you are free. And now, the final integration. If this discipline helps you, press like, not to flatter anyone, but to reinforce your own decision. And if you intend to continue building this form of sovereignty, subscribe becomes a filter. It ensures that what enters your mind strengthens you instead of exhausting you. Remember this final principle. Do not react, do not explain, control access. Everything else aligns.